He doesn't get to learn why this matters so much to you, and you don't get a chance for him to apologize with his tongue that night.
You shouldn't have got married if you don't want a man who wants to be intimate. You shouldn't have got married if you don't want to be intimate. What's the secret? That's such a blessing. What's the secret? The question drives me nuts. Why is it a secret? Nope, she's not always going to like you. Nope, you're not always going to get along. You're going to disagree. You may have some arguments, all these other kind of things. But if you guys care more about the relationship than you do about your opinion, you're going to make it through everything. 33 years, man. I've been with the same person. The consistency, the faithfulness, the ability to know that I know what I've got. She knows what she has, right? Looking around at what we built together, man, do you understand how hard it is to do that?
What's happening, party people? This is your boy Coach Sean, and what I'm about to show you is actually an older recording, a previous recording that I did with a mentor of mine who has been married for now going on 33 plus years. Okay, and I just thought there were too many gems in this from a reaction video that we collaborated on for a separate podcast page that we were briefly creating once upon a time, that I just thought would be an amazing feature to what we do here as we're looking to build happy, healthy, whole biblical relationships. And of course, your boy wants to touch on topics like marriage, sex, intimacy, things like that, but bring people on who probably have a lot more credibility to talk about those things than maybe I do, as I'm currently single, although all the thoughts do come from a biblical place and are beneficial. Okay, so I definitely want you to check it out. I think it'll be impactful for you as you watch through the duration of it, and I'll see you in the end. All right.
Reasons why my marriage failed in the beginning, part 4, and why yours is probably on the rocks right now. Let me explain. My name is Karina F. Days. I'm a relationship expert, and I help you solve the #1 conflict in your relationship. And as embarrassing as it is to share with y'all, the truth is that in the beginning of my marriage, I controlled our sex life without even knowing that I was controlling our sex life. You see, if I wasn't in the mood, we wouldn't have sex. If I didn't want us to be intimate, I would reject my husband and we wouldn't be intimate. And it took some time for me to realize that this was not only ruining our marriage, but it was ruining my husband's confidence. It was affecting him and us in ways that were very difficult for me to comprehend. But over time, I realized that being intimate with your partner is a form of connection. It's a form of being one. And here I was on my mighty horse saying that we couldn't do this until I was in the mood. And what I want you to realize is that you're waiting to be in the mood to be intimate. But what if being intimate is the very thing that gets you in the mood? You see, you're waiting for this intense amount of desire to be there in order to have sex with your partner, when desire is waiting for you on the other side of taking action and connecting with your partner. You understand me? This is exactly the work that I want to do with you in my private one-on-one coaching program. I want to help you come up with the exact communication strategies it's going to take for you and your partner to be on the same page to talk about difficult things like intimacy.
So I kind of want to read some of this caption here because it actually seems to describe in detail some of the stuff that people may be facing in this space. So, putting out a story like this, you argue for the 4th time about the bills and immediately feel frustrated and not in the mood to have sex. Your money problems don't end up being solved, and neither of you experience orgasming that night. He forgets to ask you if you want something to eat as they pick themselves something up on the way home. You feel offended that they don't care about you, argue, and sleep on the opposite ends of the bed that night. He doesn't get to learn why this matters so much to you, and you don't get a chance for him to apologize with his tongue that night. If you want to stop arguing, getting offended, and sitting in your resentment, you need to reverse engineer your issues. So this is really interesting. And of course, with you opening up this thing, I just want to hear really where you're coming from with this, because you have obviously 33
together, 32 married.
32
just,
married,
just
33
Wednesday,
together.
just 2 days ago.
Shout out. Yeah, I just saw the post too. Shout out to you, man. I love that. Hope you enjoyed that dessert. What was that, by the way? I didn't even see.
Man.
It looked fire. Looked fire.
Well, you saw the Brussels sprouts that we had.
Oh, okay.
And then the other thing we had, but they had a from scratch key lime pie that was,
ooh,
man.
He said that, but the fiending for that pasta. I need some more.
Man, I might go back today, just drive by and be like, "Hey, I'm just here for the pie." Yeah, no, it
Yeah,
was good. So, listen, man. Yeah, so I have some questions for you actually with
sure.
what she said. So
Yeah,
I think this is really good. So for those of you who are joining us for the very first time, listen, I'm 54, Sean's 24, and we feel like one of the things that we like to do is talk about subjects around our faith. First and foremost, we're believers, and so we like to pick subjects, and then we want to talk about them in hopes to be able to bring some clarity to you, help you, and at a minimum, get you to start thinking down a pathway that we believe is going to be helpful and right for you. And this particular instance, Sean, I would say, so Sean is not married and currently single. I am married, 33 years with the same person, just as we alluded to, just celebrated 2 days ago my 32nd wedding anniversary. And for all of the married people out there, before you jump in and say everybody's situation isn't the same, you are right. But what we want to do is we want to talk about what she had to say here, Sean. And so, as a young person who's been out there, you've heard these things, you guys are online. Sex is almost always top of mind when it comes to young people, especially young men. When they get married, boy, it's going to go down. I'm going to be doing this, that, and the third, so on and so forth. And she just kind of dropped a bomb on a whole bunch of dudes, young men in particular, who might have heard something like this for the very first time, that when she wasn't in the mood, nothing was happening. Like nothing was happening. This might have messed with some people's mind. Now, I'm curious to know, had you as a young man, young unmarried man, has any of this ever crossed your mind at all in any way, shape, or form, that you would be like, woo-wee, I can't wait to get home. But she like, yeah, no, I ain't in the mood.
yeah. So I mean, we've had our plethora of conversations, so I know that I've learned that it's a possibility. But and to kind of refrain from maybe intellectualizing this, I've never really figured or considered, you know what I'm saying, like how would I respond in that situation? I'm
Yeah.
coming home, it's a long day, I got a beautiful wife at home, and man, we about to get it on, man, and she ain't in the mood because of something, of an issue, a conversation, an argument that is unresolved. And so now not only is like everything short, but now it seems like everything up to that point is also an issue. It's irritable. An argument is just like it's just waiting to take place, whether spoken or unspoken. And so I've never really considered it, man. And to be honest, I don't know exactly how I would go about it because I know me. I've learned enough about me to know that I have a capacity. You know, when people get into arguments or something is said, you know, you either have somebody who's a stormtrooper walks out, you have somebody that maybe you know they turn up with you, they match the energy in the room, they go silent, everything turns into an internalizing matter. They ask you what's wrong, nothing, I'm fine, you know, those kinds of things. Or where I feel like I've fit in more is trying to solve the problem in the moment.
Mm.
I'm more of like, hey, we need to talk about this. You know what I'm saying? Like this is here, it's now. Why don't we just go ahead and get it out the way instead of just leaving it up in the air and wanting to go? Now, of course, I did. There was a time where I was more of like a, you know, leave it up in the air and not really discuss it. Sometimes internalize it, but because I've been in enough situations where it's just been beneficial for me to just attack it in the moment, I've grown to do that. And so that's kind of more of where I'm at now. So, but to consider that, and she's not even willing to talk. She's not willing to unpack anything. It's like, well, what do I do? And so, yeah, I've never considered that, man, to be honest, or how I would handle that rejection, because I know that that's a real thing.
And I think that you're not alone in that,
Yeah.
because there are a lot of, I'm telling you, there's a lot of young guys like yourself who are like, yo, man, she tripping. No, she's not tripping. This is a real thing for couples over, especially as you start to introduce children into that relationship,
Mm,
man. And so let me just give you a couple scenarios
yeah.
that she didn't even mention. One of those scenarios could be you had children, right? And let's just say she's a stay-home mom. right? But she been with kids all day. You've been at work all day. You come home, she been with a screaming kid all day. She been changing diapers, poop, washing clothes, doing all this kind of stuff, made sure you had dinner, all this other kind of good stuff is popping and cracking. And she gets home, man, and she like, man, shoot, I've been with this baby all day. You come home, get this baby for about 45 minutes, because kids typically go to sleep between 6 or 7 babies, right? They knock out, unless there's an issue. And so she's like, man, I'm at the end of the day, and you talking about, man, I'm trying to get some. She done for the day, right? That's one possibility. The other one is that you both work and you got babies. Now you both work and you got babies. She's got to come home, take care of the baby, potentially make dinner if you're not the one who makes dinner. Maybe if you just can't cook, she probably don't want your dinner. She's like, nah, I got it, because we don't want you making cereal, right? So, you got to be over here and do what you do. Now you got this tension. On top of that, she may be premenstrual. She may be coming up on her cycle. Now she cramping. She don't feel good. All this other kind of good stuff. And you thinking, man, before this thing come through, though, I'm trying to, just real quick. Right. But she like, nah, ain't nothing happening, brother. Like, I don't feel good at all. I'm bloated. I feel heavy. All this other kind of good stuff. And you like, yo, so like what's going on here? So you're starting to feel this rejection. I'm gonna get to that point in just a minute. But see, Sean, this is why these kind of conversations need to happen. And it may seem to somebody like, I don't need to have none of that, because, man, I just be smashing when I smash, or whatever, or whatever. All this, because that's just in the context of a marriage, man, it just don't go down like that. But she made some points that I do want to bring up, especially in her after conversation, where she went further in her video, the stuff that you just read, because she was like, you have a fight about finances, right? You have a fight about you didn't take the trash out. The baby didn't do this. You didn't do that, or whatever. She says something that's really powerful in there, Sean. Pull it. Can you pull those comments back up real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I want to say it verbatim. Okay, so here's what she said. I like this. Stop waiting for all your marital issues to be resolved before you have sex. Because here's what happens with people. We start to punish the other person. And this can happen on both sides. Typically, though, I'm going to be honest with you, having coached, counseled, right, pastored multiple people, typically it's the woman on this side. Basically, you ain't getting none. She's just letting you know you ain't getting none because you didn't do this or you didn't do that or whatever, whatnot. So she's holding you hostage to this situation. It's interesting because she made mention of the fact that she realized that she didn't realize the depth of the impact that this was having on her husband. But I think that most women do. And that's the very reason why they withhold it, because they're like, yeah, I know the impact that this is having on you by not allowing this to take place. But I love what she said. And then she says here, you argue for the 4th time about bills and immediately feel frustrated and not in the mood. Now, I love what she said. She was like, yo, don't wait to get in the mood. Here's what the problem is. You're going to have challenges and difficulties. So an intimate life in a marriage, man, requires 2 very intentional, healthy, emotional, and spiritual people, man, who realize that my marriage is the most important thing to me. This here, she's not talking about any kind of abuse, any kind of verbal, mental, physical thing. You just had an argument about bills, right? About something either was missed being paid, wasn't paid, or you spent something. You don't want to punish that other person by saying, well, you can't have me unless you take care of these other things. I think this is really important. So I love what she had to say regarding that. But a lot of couples suffer with this whole thing right here, man. They struggle with this because that's exactly what they do. They're like, no, I'm about to punish you. You are straight up about to be punished over this situation right here. And it's unhealthy, man, on so many different levels. The people never recover from it. A lot of times, man, that thing, that other video that you and I are going to do that we just read about, the lady who talked about the 80% of women who get divorced become side chick, bruh, that's crazy right there. Because listen, the reality of it is you know why that happens? These people, Sean, don't realize that they really don't realize you probably got 80% of what you want in this person, and the other 20% is difficult. But sometimes you will leave the 80, start all over again at 0, and might never reach the 80 again. Does that make sense
That's
to you?
tough.
So you got 80% of what you want in this current relationship, but now you backed out of it because you let arguments get in the way of you connecting intimately. Now, there might be somebody for sure who watches this and be like, well, that's all they want. They just all they no. You got it wrong. And so I just want to clarify for you that if one of the ways that men communicate is through intimacy, where women in another way communicate differently than that. When men don't have this connection, that's one of the ways for us to really genuinely connect with the women that we are with. And so a lot of times they're looking at it like that's all you want. Here's my question to any lady out there who says that's all my husband wants. Here's my question. Where else is he supposed to get it from? That's where else is he supposed to get it from? Is he supposed to go somewhere else and get it? Because if he does that, then that's problematic for you. So you saying that that's all he wants. See, this is where the confusion comes in, because he wants you. That doesn't mean that you guys won't have challenges or struggles or whatever, whatnot. But when we withhold intimacy from one another, I think we get out of pocket on that, right? There's a scripture that tells us this. 1 Corinthians 7:5. This scripture right here is very helpful to us, man, because there are a lot of people who, again, man, they weaponize their body, man. They weaponize their intimacy with their spouse, right? And I think that this is wrong, right? Because here it is, right here. This is what it says to us, Sean, right? It makes it very plain to us, gives it to us straight up. Here's what it says, right? Do not deprive each other except for perhaps mutual consent for a time, so that you may devote yourselves to prayer. Then come together again, so that Satan will not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. This is so interesting, right? There's a couple of things in here. It says, do not deprive this other person. Don't use your body as a weapon. And again, I'm mostly talking to women. Women are the one who mostly use this and do this. Now, there's going to be some women who probably get mad at that. But you know, the only why you're mad is because you do it. You're like, in order for me to get him in line, this is what I need him to do. And if I ain't in the mood, as she alluded to, then he just got to figure something out. He got to go do something, go watch football, go take a cold shower, whatever, all this other kind of good stuff or whatever. But I'll be honest with you, Sean, if a woman cares about her relationship and different things along those lines, she does other things she don't feel like doing. If her girlfriends call her and they like, girl, we gonna do this, that, and the other, she get up and go, right? Do all these other kind of things. But you're like, yeah, I don't feel like doing that. And this isn't to tell somebody that I'm saying in no way, shape, or form that if you're sick or you have something going on with you physically or whatever, or that you just can't say, hey, not tonight. But you know what? Let me tell you something, Sean, that a lot of women maybe know. And if they don't, this is the first time for them to hear. This is also good for the young guys so that you can keep your hopes up. You can say, hey, you know what? Tonight, I'm just tired, right? I just don't have anything for you. I want to be present with you. Can we do this tomorrow? Now you said no, but you left the pathway open for the next day. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now there's no conflict. And if you did have let's say you had a conflict about bills and all this other kind of stuff that she was talking about, guess what happened, Sean? Now, man, you got a pathway to even have that conversation further while still with the promise of, hey, tomorrow, me and you can come together. We can be together. I think this is really important, man, that married people look at this and they understand it, because that rejection, okay, this is going to be tough. This is going to be tough, Sean. On something, you keep rejecting a man, you just keep rejecting him. You just keep rejecting. You keep punishing him because of a disagreement that you have out of this. I promise you, another woman And you might be thinking, if he was a man of God, he wouldn't. No. Because I could say the same thing as if you were a woman of God, the passage of scripture that we just read would apply to you, which says, do not deprive one another, except for even through prayer, is what it says, for a season of prayer. That's what it says. It didn't give any other reason for that outside of the things that we know that are obvious. Again, for some type of sickness, ailment, menstrual cycle, different things along those lines. These are things that are obvious, right? Nobody, hopefully you don't have anybody who can't understand that, comprehend that. But truthfully, man, listen, this ideal of, if he can't handle that, no, why'd you get married? That would be my question. What did you get married for? You shouldn't have got married if you don't want a man who wants to be intimate. You shouldn't have got married if you don't want to be intimate. Don't get married. You can't say, this isn't who I am. This isn't what I want. So you go do something else and you got to figure it out. If you love me, you would understand. No. So I love what she said, which is a hard thing for a lot of people to say. She said, I was ruining my marriage. You got to take responsibility for where you are. And the hard part about this is that most of the women that I've worked with, and I can speak to that for sure, most of the women that I've worked with, it's always been an issue with something that he didn't do. He's not doing this. He's not doing that. He ain't making enough money. He's not this and that. And and so on and so forth. Or I didn't get my nails done, or he didn't buy me a purse, or he didn't buy this, or whatever, whatnot, so on and so forth, whatever. Or he told me that we couldn't do that this time, right? And because we needed to put this money for this, that, the other. So if we can't do that, then he can't do this. Bruh, like that's all out of pocket. So now, let me be clear. I'm specifically talking to my sisters in Christ. If you're not a Christian, none of this applies to you. You know why? Because these values don't make any sense to you. But for believers, it does. If you're a believer, this does. Now, if you happen to be watching this and you're an unbeliever and you go, okay, no, I see that. Good for you, right? Good for you. Because now you're getting it. We don't deprive one another. We don't punish our partner intimately wise. But I also want for the young men to understand that there will be a time where when your wife says to you that she's tired, yeah, bruh, there's going to be some times where you're going to have to suck that up. You tired. It is what it is. And hey, it's not happening tonight, right? It's just not happening. So you move on. You do what you got to do. And, you don't punish your wife by ignoring her, gaslighting her, acting like, she don't have any value, because you can't just make her body your value either, right? She got to mean more to you than that. So and that happens. I'll say this too for the married men who are in this place right here, and you haven't been able to get over yourself, whatever. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, Sean. Most of the younger couples, and this always cracks me up, man. I'll be making some of these dudes mad too, because I start chuckling with them. I'm like, bro, you are not going to die. I just want you to know that. Like your life is not going to end because you didn't have sex. It's not going to end. Yeah. You are going to be okay. So hold on tight, buddy. You'll be okay for another day. I promise. You're going to be okay. And plus, you're going to have to go somewhere 3 to 5 days, depending on how long your wife's cycle lasts anyway, pretty much up until she goes into menopause. Yeah. And then when she goes into menopause, that's a whole nother scenario. The whole 9 right there, brother. So yeah, she having hot flashes and all kinds of stuff or whatever, whatnot.
Your balls ain't gonna kill you.
Yeah, you just gotta hang on here for a little bit, and you're going to be fine. But that's what I would say about this, man. And again, for the young guys, for guys in general, if you're in this situation too, last thing I want to say, and if you have something, let me know. Here's this is important. First of all, you have to love the person that you're with. You have to love the whole person, and you also have to be willing to have conversations about what your needs are and what those and that goes for both sides, right? And if you're married, then you need to be willing to meet that other person's needs. I'm sorry, you just do. You can't just be like, well, this, that, and the third, so on and so forth. No, you need to be willing to meet that other person's needs. Outside of anything, let me be clear on this for those who maybe didn't come to the end of this video. If they are not abusing you in any way, shape, or form, you don't have an excuse for this. I'm just being honest with you. You don't. The last thing she said was, I'm not in the mood she said, but sometimes when you get there, then you are in the mood. I couldn't agree more with what she said. Sometimes it's, yeah, I'm not there now, but you need to learn to communicate. Intimacy is a beautiful thing between a husband and a wife. And when you start to know how to communicate with him and say, wait, this is what I need from you, then it could be, we're going to keep this PG 13. But when you learn how to communicate with him, then he can hear from you and you can end up having a really good time of intimacy with your spouse that you weren't even expecting, all because you became willing and open to the prospect of it.
Yeah, well, I appreciate all that, and I think that's big game for me, of course. Something to just have in the back pocket for whenever it becomes available. But there's a couple thoughts I have, and then I actually want to ask you a question
Mm-hmm.
regarding some of the 80 and 20 that you mentioned there, because I think that's a really interesting piece. But I think for me, being a single guy, what I've kind of gotten from a lot of that is I think that's what singleness really allows you to do, to be able to build up the patience for intimacy and not be controlled by intensity. The comparison between the two, I shout out Tim Ross's podcast. He had an individual that it was a quick 30-minute clip that he put on YouTube. The full podcast is on his app that I didn't get a chance to listen to, but he's an individual who's in ministry, who's single, and man, just spit a lot of game to singles and just experiencing what it's like to celebrate other people getting married and being in relationships and yet
Yeah.
remaining in that season of singleness and what that's like, and of course so many other experiences. But what he brought about was just the difference between intimacy and intensity. He's like, intensity is just a fast, like you're trying to squeeze everything that intimacy requires into a small window of time, and you don't really get the opportunity to learn that person, to journey with that person, and you're trying to come up with some kind of conclusion in like 2 to 3 hours. And that's why when you have it, the one night stand, the quickie, the in and out, all that kind of stuff, when you just met somebody, that's why you still feel empty even
Mm-hmm.
after it, because there's no connection. That
Mm-hmm.
person, you two treated each other as possessions, not as people. He's like,
Right.
whereas when there's intimacy, man, that's longevity. You're connecting with that person in so many different ways over time.
Facts, man.
And it's not something that is built off of sexual pleasures in any way, shape, or form. And especially again, as a believer, when you're pursuing to wait for marriage to experience that, you're actually getting to see this person for who they really are.
Mm-hmm.
And you're able to discern, does this make sense for where I'm at and the person that I'm, becoming and where I'm going, and actually learning and experiencing that person for who they truly are. And so when I heard that, man, that was something that was really stuck out to me, just the comparison between the two. But I think, yeah, you grow in your singleness, man. You're just being equipped to do that. Like you're denying your flesh, not even just from the sake of, man, I'm not going out because I don't want to put myself in an environment, that I'm used to, where I used to pick up girls and have all this kind of activity all Friday night and Saturday night. Sometimes, when you get into the space of committing your body back to the Lord, yeah, you're going to have a plethora of seasons and moments where Friday night I'm inside. Brother, I don't need to be going out doing that. I need to remove my Snapchat and remove social media or not be on that at a certain time of night. Cause I know when I start seeing old flings, I get this habit of sending messages. And before I know it, I'm pulling up and it's 2 a.m. and I didn't even know how I got in the car. You know what I'm saying?
Oops.
So it's so oops, right? So it's like, but singleness is that opportunity, man, for you to equip that skill, because when you do get married, and I've heard this a plethora of times, and I believe it, because like, my parents, man, I shout out to my parents, 28 years of marriage,
Awesome.
right? 28 years of marriage. And so I've been able to witness that. So them raising us as kids, no, I don't know every detail. I shouldn't know every detail. I don't need to, but just seeing the longevity of 28 years, knowing my mom and knowing my dad as individuals, as parents, as people, knowing the ticks and the triggers and the upsets and things that sort, like, I definitely know that they were not doing anything and everything every night. I just know that, right? Because of the responses, the energy, or the long days, everything that just compiles, man. But it's the person that you're connecting with that, even though that's not available, it's not something that's going to cause you to leave to go get it
It
somewhere
shouldn't.
else.
It shouldn't.
And it shouldn't. You know what I'm saying? And so the singleness aspect, what I've learned from witnessing them, having any kind of glimpse into everything that you shared with me, with your marriage, with Dion, with other people, it's just like, man, there is such a blessing in being able to allow my singleness to be a season where I'm being equipped with the patience for that. So when that time comes, I'm not somebody who's tripping and itching to go get it so bad that I contemplate abandoning the covenant I've made with my wife to go find it somewhere else, not considering how she's affected and not considering the other people that are impacted by such a poor decision that is aligned in a recipe of regret. A
Yeah.
decision made in isolation, a decision that is made without community, that alongside isolation, of course, a decision that is made for immediate gratification, and a decision that is made from tiredness and fatigue, right, and all those
Mhm.
kinds of things. And
And
so,
lack of understanding.
yeah, you know what I mean? And so I just think I really, and I'm really so grateful, especially a lot of the stuff that I've been learning recently. And I know I shared a video with you, and we might react to it at some point, in the video. But man, there was a podcast, Lovers and Friends. Kelly Rowland was a part of it. She was
Oh yeah.
she was kind of touring a little bit of her Mea Culpa show or movie. I have not seen it. I don't need to see it. Okay. I can't handle that. I ain't in no position to do that. But, the conversation was so educational to me. And it's something that I wish more, like, you won't get conversations like that in the church, unfortunately. And I do understand the verbiage and the differentiation between the two. You definitely don't want to go into the church in the pulpit or setting and be so vulgar with your words and things of
Right.
that sort.
Absolutely not.
And so, yeah, there's a balance with that stuff. But I think just the essence of what they were talking about really had me reminded when this video was shared with me, because man, she talked a lot about the importance of connection. She talked a
Mhm.
lot about the importance of, man, like, that's my best friend. That right there is my person. And so, communicating those things, communicating interests, what you like, what you don't like, learning to build that up together, and knowing that you have a lifetime to build that, while also understanding that, man, there, just it's a fun experience to have. It's something to enjoy in the right confines and connections and obviously context of marriage. But just going the ins and outs and in betweens, man, she just dropped so many nuggets on it. And it just reiterated to me the importance of waiting,
Yeah.
because what I learned from that was that, man, just based off of the perceptions that we maybe at one point have carried about sex, whether it was informed by pornography, it was informed by peers, by social media, all these expectations, man. And there was something she said, the host of it, she said, because they asked the question, I think Kelly asked, why aren't kinks talked about enough in the community? And I think she was referring to the Black community. And she said, well, I think there's two reasons. I thought the reasons she gave were phenomenal, because the one of the Bible Belt influence, right? It's this, man, I don't think we should touch this. And a lot of shame has kind of centered around the topic
Sure.
of sex in the body, and in church and Bible Belt, spaces. But then too, she said, man, you have the pop culture expectation where you have to, everybody's expecting each other to be the freakiest and the nastiest, but nobody's on either extreme. And so people are embarrassed to admit that. So they just almost carry that
Right.
simultaneously.
Right.
I was like, man, that is such a beautiful thought. And she, is sex, she's in sexology. She has a doctorate and all this kinds of, I mean, she just has a big background of studies on this stuff. And so I really thought that was beautiful. But to kind of tie it all up, it's just encouraging for me, because I don't want to limit the encounter that I have with somebody to the point where I feel like I end up giving something I think she's expecting, and we both cheat ourselves because we're not expecting anything
It's so much
in that.
more. It's so
Yeah.
much more, Sean. There's so much more to it. And typically, again, people who want to know this, they will seek that information out. They,
Yeah.
they, they
Yeah.
will they will find mentorship in this space. They will ask these questions in premarital counseling.
Hmm.
They will go when they decide, hey, I think this is going to be my person. They will start to seek out those kind of things, man. Your relationship is not just sex, man. It can't just be sex. You're spending your life with somebody. I'm
Right.
sitting across the table from my wife on Wednesday night on our anniversary at this really nice place, and I'm sitting there, man, and we're conversating, and man, we just started talking about what we were grateful for with our kids, with our grandkids, with everything else, man. And I'm like, this is what it's about, man. Imagine you just thinking to yourself, well, I just need to have good sex and everything else is going to be okay. Not true. You need somebody who get in the trenches with you. You need somebody who prays for you. You need somebody who's got your back. You need somebody who holds you down. You need somebody to cheerlead for you. You need somebody to correct you. You need somebody to slow you down sometimes. You need somebody to help you, reimagine certain things. You need all these things, man. Somebody to journey with you. Somebody who won't threaten to abandon you when stuff gets difficult or challenging, man, but they hang in there with you. Sex ain't gonna cure that.
Yeah.
You need so much more. It's so much more. Look at your family. What did you build? That's what we look at, is what we built. That's our thing. What did God allow us to build? That's the beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So we're grateful for that.
Heck yeah. So quick question for you, and then I guess I got two, but this is the first one. So if you've been in a position where you were rejected,
of course,
from having sex, like how did you respond? How did you navigate that?
Man, bottom line is what I said. You have to say, all right, well, I might be in this space right here and my face might be a little crunchy, right? You might be feeling some kind of way about it, but you need to understand you're dealing with another person. That person is not an object. And if you treat them like an object, you're going to have a problem. Now, I also believe, man, that having conversation, Sean, around this is you have conversation around it. Like, hey, that's why I was able to say, hey, say not this evening, but another night. Put that out there, right? That's something you can share with your spouse very easily and be like, okay, so are you good? Like later, what is it? I just need to know, right? Don't leave me hanging. Like when because obviously I came to you because I was, wanting to be intimate with you. So what is there another time, right? Is there a better time?
Yeah.
That should always be left on the table. And so you learn those over the course of your marriage. If you are willing to be effectively married, you learn how to have those kind of conversations. That way, and then when you know certain things, you don't have to ask about them because you already know them. Like, for example, you could ask like, hey, do you have a preference, time, day, whatever? You can get into all of those kind of things and you can ask those kind of questions. And then so that way you're like, man, it's Saturday. I'm sitting up here. I ain't doing nothing, but man, I sure could. And your wife is like, bruh, that ain't, that's not happening right now. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's a matter of just having conversations, man, and communicating it and not allowing yourself to turn into the Incredible Hulk when you get told no, because you will be told no.
Yeah. And so what if she doesn't, or this spouse doesn't really respond when you ask the question? So you want to try it, you communicate, you be as gentle as possible in that space. Hey, you want to try it this day, and there's like no response to it. It's like a cold shoulder. Mm-hmm. How do you navigate that?
You got a problem. Y'all have a problem. There's a disconnect. If two people are married and there's no response to that question, you guys have a problem. Like there's a real issue between you and your spouse. And that's the thing now that becomes a priority that you need to talk about, because I would be wondering why they wouldn't give you a response.
Okay. So like to the point of you might need to go, if it is that extreme therapy, like you might need to.
I would see no reason why your spouse would not respond to you in that. Yeah, tomorrow will be great. Or you sitting down, you have an adult conversation, you having husband and wife conversation. You go, yeah. So, on average, 3-4 days a week, 4 being over the point really, but 3 days out of 7, you think about it, and then you're like, and preferably, before I go to bed, but don't wake me up in the morning because I'm gonna be a bear in the morning if you try to wake me up, right? So you have those kind of conversations, and most people are willing to do that in a healthy relationship. If you don't have a healthy relationship, a person wants to hold a grudge, like she was saying, you want on bills. Well, when you pay this bill, then you can no. That's manipulation. That's witchcraft. We don't do that.
Ooh,
we don't. We don't. That's what it is. We don't manipulate ourselves into the connection that we have with the person that we said I do to in front of a whole bunch of witnesses and made all these promises to sickness and health, right? till death do we part, right? And all this other kind of stuff. Well, hold up for a second. Well, what happened to all that?
Yeah.
What happened to all that when you was up there with your dress on and you was looking good and all of a sudden people was, girl, use this, that, and the third way. Oh, well, hold up. All that's out the window now? You have a problem. There's a real significant problem if those two people can't have that level of conversation and talk about what it is. If you're being shut down and the person's being closed off to you, there's something else that's going on more. And again, if there's no abuse, then that person's being immature and manipulative.
Yeah, and so I think what prompted me for that question was because I've watched a lot of great shows. Couples Therapy was a show that I watched and I've thoroughly enjoyed. I learned so much from that. But I noticed, a lot of couples come through, and when they were getting to the conversations of intimacy and the lack thereof of it, it was seemingly always the woman. And one or two cases, it might have been maybe from an infidelity space that the man struggled with, and that's what kind of created that. But the woman was like,
100%.
man, I just grew to be unattracted to this person. Like, and it pointed to the lack of finances. They connected attractiveness to finances. They connected the attractiveness to, I guess maybe in some cases, emotional availability, or maybe it was just his physical appearance. So my question to you, and obviously with your own marriage and dealing with the marriages that you counseled, how do you unpack that in a healthy way, where like what do you feel is going on in the mind of an individual who looks at their spouse and is like, I'm not attracted to you? Like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I don't think that I can give you everybody's answer. I can give you my answer.
Yeah, for sure.
When people go through that, you listed some of the things that I would have listed myself. Sometimes person has gained weight, stop taking care of themselves, stop dealing with their hygiene. And they're like, yo, like, you breathing all hard, right? And stuff like that. You're not taking care of yourself. You're not groomed. You're not doing the kind of stuff you need to do to make sure that you're healthy or whatever, whatnot. It's fair for both people to be take care of themselves and keep themselves for the spouse that they have. Now, a lot of women have a problem with that because they'd be like, I had these babies for you. I stretched this body out for you. No, you decided to have that baby too. So let's not say you did it for them. That sounds good and that sounds all feminist, but let's not say that. He can't have a baby. So it is incumbent upon him to understand, but I think it's really good for both people to take care of themselves. I just do. Even if you're a stay-at-home mom, don't look like when you got up at 6 a.m. when your husband gets home. Sorry, there's going to be some women that get offended by that, but I'm just saying, don't look like that. And the only reason why you're doing this, I clean this house, I did this. He come home to a clean house and a meal and all this other kind of good stuff. Okay, yeah, but he still is attracted to you, and he doesn't want to see you with the Aunt Jemima rag on your head, right, and pajamas that you wore. From there, if you're not sick, there's nothing wrong with you getting up, brushing your hair, making sure, right, that you showered, you did all the stuff you need to do, and you look somewhat presentable. Nobody's telling you to have on stilettos and a black dress and red lipstick. Nobody's asking that from you. We're just saying take care of yourself, and the same thing for a man, right? We have a tendency to get gutties, right? We get a little older, we get some gutties, we get a little bit out of shape, right? Things start, you have to at least be working on it. Right. So you gotta say, I'm working on myself. I'm doing the things I need to do in addition to that, though, too. I think that some people, man, get into their relationships and they stop cultivating the relationship. Sean, that's what happens. They stop cultivating what it means to be married to somebody. People always ask us, what's the secret? What's the secret? I got that this week. What's the secret? That's such a blessing. What's the secret? The question drives me nuts. Why is it a secret? Why is it a secret? Like, hey, I almost rather them say, what's the formula? What's the pathway? What's the right way? What way did you guys find out that works? Why is the implication of something being a secret makes me feel like it's not normal. So you're asking what the secret is. Like, there's a secret to this thing. No, there isn't a secret to it. So let me say this to you. you will have a lot of apologies. You will have a lot of intentional connection with the person that you are with. A lot of intentional connections with this person in terms of, again, hey, we weren't getting along over this situation. We see differently over this. Let's sit down and have this conversation. Tempers got flared up a little bit. We maybe felt some kind of way, whatever. But do you care more about your opinion than you do the marriage? You don't, you don't listen, check this out. Check this out. You don't fall in love and you don't fall out of love. Let me explain myself.
Please do.
To fall into anything is an accident. You intentionally walk into a relationship.
So it's built. That love is built. That's what you're saying.
Built. It is built.
Intentional.
Man.
It's okay.
It is built. Yeah. And all this, we fell in love. Shut up. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Shut up. You did not fall into anything. You were intentional in those early spaces. You were intentional. You did the stuff you need to. All the stuff that I just said. Your hair was done. Your nails was done. You did everything. He was at the gym and they're screaming at Planet Fitness for $10. And they like, keep it quiet up in here. We don't do that here. This ain't Gold's Gym. Right. So the reality of it is, Sean, is that these people were intentional and then they stopped being intentional over the course of time because they start thinking to themselves, well, shoot, maybe over there is better. Look at what so-and-so got, or look at what he did for his wife, or but you don't know the backstory of what he did for his wife. They may have the nice house and all the big cars and all this other kind of stuff, but she getting beat in the head. He verbally abusing her. He's stepping out on her. She's stepping out on him. You don't know. So we don't want to use those comparisons. You need to focus on your relationship. What's healthy? What's healthy with you guys? What's good about you guys? Man, one of the best things, Sean, that I could tell you truthfully, with 30, man, listen, I've been with this person for more than half of my life. I'm 54. I'll be 55 in November. I've been with 33 years, man. I've been with the same person. The consistency, the faithfulness, the ability to know that I know what I've got. She knows what she has, right? Looking around at what we built together, man, do you understand how hard it is to do that? Do you understand how difficult it is for 3 decades, man, to be married to somebody?
Relearning them over and over again.
They change. You change.
Yeah.
But what happens is in the process, I have to ask you where you are. You have to ask me where I am. And then we always have to remember why we got together in the first place. I told my wife straight up, sitting across from her Wednesday night, I ain't never needed nobody else. I've never needed anybody. My intention was to invest everything that I was, and it's still my intention, everything that I am, into our marriage. I don't need to be like, well, if I was with her, then it would be this, that, and the other. No, it wouldn't. No, but there's a HGTV star. Her name's Christina. She been married 3 different times now. My wife just told me last night, we were going to bed. She just told me, she's like, her show was coming on. She's like, she getting a divorce. I was like, what? For the third, listen. It's y'all have the wrong ideal about these marriages. Halle Berry. How many times Halle Berry can't stay married?
Halle Berry.
She can't stay married.
Man. How many times she been divorced? I don't even know.
Like 3 or 4. Like she just can't stay married, man. Like, dude, marriage is a very intentional, sacrificial union. Marriage is highly sacrificial.
Yeah.
And if you aren't a highly sacrificial person, but you are just a transactional person, you can have a transactional marriage, but I promise you, you're going to be dissatisfied with it. Even so much so to the point where Shannon Sharp said, I made all the money I needed to make. I just ain't got nobody to share it with. Yeah. You can be selfish, and I promise you, you're going to be by yourself. You can be selfish, and you're going to be by yourself, because marriage requires a lot of sacrifice, man. That's why Jesus tells us in Ephesians chapter number 5 that we are to give ourselves to our wives as Christ gave himself to the church. It's sacrificial. It is 1000% sacrificial. Nope, she's not always going to like you. Nope, you're not always going to get along. You're going to disagree. You may have some arguments, all these other kind of things. But if you guys care more about the relationship than you do about your opinion, you're going to make it through everything. If that person sitting across from you, you share the bed with, you share kids with, you share bills with, you share all these things with, your ups, your downs, your difficulties. If you share all of those things with that person, and that's your priority, you'll make it through everything. And I don't care who else comes in front of you who's fine. Fine goes away. It just does.
Man, oh, that's fire. So I think that's about it, man. I really like a lot of those thoughts, and I hope you guys got a lot out of this conversation. Those who are unmarried, want to be married, or already married, definitely a lot of nuggets here. My biggest thought to anybody who's watching this and single, and perhaps desires to be married, man, I think you use this conversation obviously for educational purposes, but also, man, because it's a good reminder to use your singleness as a season to gain that self-control, man. Gain that self-control, and that discipline that you're going to need when you enter into the marriage, not just for the sexual pleasures or anything of that sort, the rejections, the disagreements, but also knowing how to navigate beyond it to remain building that connection that's greater than obviously just the sexual pleasure you could ever experience from that. Even though it's a part of it, it's not the only thing. And it's something that builds and elaborates the relationship as a whole for the person that you're marrying. Well, there you have it. There it is. I told you it'd be beneficial. I told you it'd be impactful. I'm so glad that you watched it all the way through. Please comment below. Okay. If you like this type of format, if you like this type of content and you want to see more of it included in the Process podcast, I definitely will do that. If you like to see different guests, okay, people that could speak a little bit more to where you are in this season of life, comment below, and I'll definitely make it an emphasis to reach out to certain people, bring them on board, at least people that I feel can speak to such topics in a healthy biblical way, just to continue helping you build happy, healthy, whole biblical relationships. All right, don't forget to share this with a friend. Subscribe if you're new. Turn on the post bell notification so you know the next time that we're posting. And hey, listen, if you are looking for any kind of coaching, any kind of one-on-one work with your boy, click the link in the description below. You will find an option to have a one-on-one free call, just a 60-minute free call, just to kind of get an idea of where you're at, what you're looking at, what are you struggling with, and maybe perhaps what could actually advance this a little bit further. If you fill out the form that is connected to that link, there you will actually be able to list out some of the struggles, the tensions that you're having, and it'll be emailed to me, and then I can get a response back to you rather quickly, just to determine what the next steps could be and the potential opportunity to work together in this space. Secondly, don't forget to check out the Feel to Heal ebook. Okay, this is an ebook guide just simplifying emotions, helping you learn how to feel and process your emotions in a healthy way, just giving you some beginner tactics and guides that I think will be really beneficial to you. Okay, click the link in the description below. It's cheaper than your Netflix subscription, and I think it'll be beneficial to you. And then on top of that, by purchasing this, you actually will be able to have an opportunity for half of its original price to purchase the Feel to Heal repair course. Okay, I definitely want you to check that out. This is for anyone and everyone: marriage, dating, singleness, friendships, family relationships, all those kinds of things. Of course, I talk a lot in marital examples in that space, but I think it'll be extremely helpful and beneficial to you to really learn how to repair your relationships and know that you don't have to wait for other people to feel okay and be at peace with where you are, and still learn to create a happy, healthy, whole relationship, not just with your emotions, but with other people, starting with you. Okay, so check that out. It's in the link in the description, and I can't wait to see you over there. Now, as always, until our next conversation, be easy and be breezy. Peace.